The opinions expressed are those of the host. The material is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute investment advice, and it is not intended as an endorsement for any specific investment. Visit crestmontpw.com for more details.
Welcome to the Ascent. This is Sam McGee, CEO and owner of Crestmont Private Wealth. And we have offices in Houston, Texas, Boerne, Texas, and soon to be Midland, Texas. You know, what's kind of interesting about Midland is that we do work with a number of oil and gas professionals, and not exclusively, but this is my excuse to get my Yellowstone or maybe my Landman on. You know, I need the Landman starter kit, maybe, you know, a holster for my knife, another pair of boots, cowboy hat. I do have a F-150 with a 2-inch leveling kit, so, you know, I kind of look the part. So anyway, we're going to be talking today a bit about our expansion and a little bit about the thought process behind what we call employer of choice. Now, I'm going to share a little bit of my story and, you know, a little bit of vulnerability on how we got to where we are and where we're headed, because I think there's a lot of people that might be listening to this, whether you're a client, you're a partner of ours, meaning someone in the industry that we work with, or maybe someone in the community, or maybe you're a business owner and you're thinking about pivoting your HR strategy a little bit. So I'm going to share a little bit about employer of choice, what that means to us, how we've evolved, and where we're going. So first off, we as a company have spent a lot of time going through the book Traction. And I think we talked about this in a previous episode or two. And it's not an endorsement for the book, but it does talk about people and being in the right seat, right person, right seat, and knowing where you're going. It all starts with that. As an employer of choice, really in this environment where you have pretty good job market, you have a growing industry, there is a massive wealth transfer that is expected to occur between the silent generation and the baby boomers down to Gen Y and Z. It is a tough thing to hire really high quality, dedicated people. And you get it wrong, and that's not a good thing. You get it right, and it's wonderful. So we really start with an employer of choice that is focused on our core values. I'm going to read those to you. Trust, teamwork, commitment to service, ability to adapt, and care. Those 5 things as an employer of choice can't just be words that are written on your wall that you don't follow. You have to hire, promote, encourage, discipline, and ultimately terminate based off of those core values that you have. So if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, get really clear on what your core values are and then live those out. And if you do that, and you're not always going to get it right, there's nobody out there who's perfect. There's no perfect employer. There's no perfect person. But if you can follow your core values, serve, hire, promote, coach, retain, and reward off those, you're going to be a step ahead. Building an employer of choice really kind of comes from a little bit of looking at the current environment, looking about where you want to go as a business, and then filling it with the right fit of people for your organization. An employer of choice is not having every other Friday off and a ping pong table downstairs. Now, some employers do that, and that's great. But it really is about finding the right individuals to get in the right seats. And then once you have that, have a really competitive offering to your team. This is how we do it. And I don't mind sharing some of the special sauce because we're proud of it. We're definitely proud of it. So first off, we try to really be active in our community. And that's important. That's one of the very first things that we look for is for people that want to be active in their community and giving back both their time, talent, and treasure. And those kind of people are people that generally, not always, it's a generalization, but generally can go through some pretty hard and good times and stay pretty grounded. Because typically I find that when I go out and serve, I feel better. If I'm having a really bad day and things aren't going great, my pastor once told me, go out and serve. You do that, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel less of yourself. And that's something that that's kind of stuck with me. And we try to express that in our hiring and the way we conduct business. Now, having a competitive offering is not just about pay. Pay is important, and knowing the data in your industry for pay structure, as well as the ranges, the midpoints, the upper decile and the lower decile, it's important, but then also giving a pathway to success and a pathway to a future and a career for each individual. Without that, it's literally just someone punching the clock. And if you can create a pathway that makes sense to that person and it fits for them and it's in their kind of highest and best use, you've made a pretty good hire. And you could be a little bit below market or a little above market on compensation, but if they're really happy and feel fulfilled, then they're going to stick around. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes you have turnover, and when that happens, you learn from it, and you learn and you adapt and you think about new ways to do things, to do better. And when that happens, it's the growth opportunity. So thinking about the total package that an employer of choice would have these days, yes, it is competitive pay, but it is also a total compensation viewpoint. What is PTO like? Is PTO good? Is it flexible? Do you have the ability to take off and spend time with your family and really unplug? Or are you still checking emails till midnight on your day off? Okay, what does that look like? Holidays, paid holidays. How many paid holidays does the employer have? At Crestmont, we actually have 12. We added 2. We did Christmas Eve and we did the day after Thanksgiving. What we found is that's family time. And if people are having to go into work on the day after Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve, not a good look and probably not the most productive. So we just close on those days. And if there's a real serious emergency, that's where the ownership has to step in, or maybe the short straw of the newest person. So we talked about PTO, we talked about holidays. Now what about benefits? When you think about benefits and you think about the old way of thinking about benefits, that was a healthcare plan, a pension plan, a 401k plan, a dental plan. Most employers these days do not have pension plans. If they do, they are cash balance pension plans. They are not the old legacy style that have a lump sum option and an annuity payment. Most companies have gotten away from that. So that puts a pretty big burden competitively on companies to provide a really attractive set of compensation and total benefits without that old legacy pension. What we do is we have dependent care for dependent care expenses, say child care expenses. We offer that. We also have a matching 401k. We have health care that is paid for completely by the employee and then 50% for the dependents, and also a dental plan and a vision plan with similar subsidies there. Now, the way that we look at all this is to be employer of choice, you have to not only have these things, but you have to share with your team, hey, this is part of your total compensation. These dollars come from something. This time off is time that we want you to use and we want you to enjoy with your family, but it's paid time off. So that is a huge, huge benefit. Employer of choice is also about the team that you manage or the business you are running, embracing a culture and an ethos that everyone on the team embraces. And when you have that, it just makes a really good culture. And when you don't have it and you maybe have someone who doesn't agree with it and it's not a fit, that doesn't mean that's a bad person. That means that, hey, it's not a fit. And you try to identify that as early as you can so they can find the right fit somewhere else. And I have learned over the last 26 years of working, half of which, about half, has been in corporate and about half has been as a owner. I have learned that there is no perfect employer. To be an employer of choice, you have to try to strive to get better, being adaptable. And that's one of our core values that I mentioned. I'm going to repeat them again. Trust, teamwork, commitment to service, ability to adapt, and care. Ability to adapt is something that you have to do as an employer if you want to be an employer of choice. During the pandemic, we saw that. People were forced to go home, so people worked from home. As there was a return to office and collaboration, you adapt. And I find that the companies that have the ability to adapt and be just slightly in front of, or try to be in front of, the changing landscape to be competitive, usually are going to do pretty well. Now, at Crestmont Private Wealth, we don't have it all figured out. So that's good news. If you're listening to this and you happen to be a job applicant, because we're going to save this podcast, the ability to adapt is also being receptive as an employer to adaptation and to suggestions by your team. Almost all of our benefits that we have at Crestmont have resulted from me soliciting our team members for really good ideas on making us more attractive. One of those was a sabbatical. Last year, Alec Walker, our EVP of financial planning, went on a 1-month paid sabbatical, and it was actually fondly referred to as a strategic absence for the rest of the team. So it wasn't a viewpoint of we're paying someone a month to not work. It was a recharge. And the rest of the team stepped up, and they learned new ways to do things, which was very cool. So today we've been talking about employer of choice, a little bit of core values, what we do at Crestmont, and if you happen to be a business owner or a client of ours or someone who's interested in our services, I wanted to share a little bit about our ethos of our company, how we think about employer of choice, how we think about what we look for. And maybe if you're that business owner who hasn't done this exercise of really delving into making yourself more competitive, maybe it's helped you a little bit. Maybe if you're a job applicant, you're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. I like hearing that. Or, hey, I've got a suggestion for you. Or you're a client. Maybe this gives you a little look under the hood. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and God bless.